In Mexico City, once I had 2,000 people.
Yes, I
I was so afraid.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for joining us in the Buenos Aires Hall of the Moscow Urban Forum 2017. My name is David Basulto. I am the founder of Arts Daily, and today I'm going to moderate this interesting session with two highly acclaimed architects, and we're going to talk about Aerotropolis, airports as drivers of urban development. In this new global scenario, cities and not states will be the main drivers of economic growth. And as connectivity is one of the key elements of competition among cities, airports are not just part of transport infrastructure, but also key strategic elements of this competition. And they have an impact that is much bigger than the airport itself. Entire new districts have appeared around these nodes, including industrial complex, innovation hubs, offices, and even casinos. And these nodes have become this new topology called the Aerotropolis. Today we're going to learn about two airports who represent this urban phenomena in very different regions of the world. First, with Massimiliano Fuksas, founder of Studio Fuksas, who has designed airports in some of the world's most dynamic economies, South Korea, Iran, Turkey, and many cities across China. And it is in China where Massimiliano's new Shenzhen airport serves the Pearl River Delta area, one of the most densely urbanized regions in the world. And the airport has played an important role in the consolidation of Shenzhen as a tech and economic hub for China. We're also joined by Fernando Romero, founder of Free, a highly recognized Mexican architect who, after an intense design competition with some of the largest architecture firms in the world, is in charge of the new international airport of Mexico City, now in construction, together with Norman Foster, who also has proven expertise in airport design. The new international airport of Mexico City, once complete, will be the Western Hemisphere largest airport and is part of the ambitious plan of the Mexico government to position itself in the global economy. So now I leave you with Massimiliano, who is going to tell us more about the Shenzhen airport.
I think it's better to see as soon as possible the video, no? Too much light, no. One moment, I want to see. No, I see there. Okay, you see Shenzhen is closer with Hong Kong. This agglomeration Shenzhen was a fish village. Over 20,000 people in the 70s. Now it's 12 million. Someone said 20 million. This is the site. This is from Google. This is not a drawing. It's okay. It's a drawing. It's not a drawing. It's really what you see from a satellite. And this was. Now we show you the way in which we build. It's when you have a very huge scale, you have to do very synthetic. But this was a lagoon. Very good. It was a lagoon before, water. Some millions of trucks. They used to put some ground, hair, inside. This was during the construction. It was very exciting. Very exciting because all the construction was something that is a human being, it's human work. I prefer to speak about the people that work there than about myself. There was 2,000 to 3,000 people, you see. This was the scale that you can understand that they check it, the entrance. It was very strange. We start from 4 parts and we arrived exactly to have all, the joint was perfect. Very strange. And all the cladding was three-dimensional. Even the construction was always very exciting, because the construction is a part of a city. They build a village around the airport. All the people was there, was living in this village, and quite old. And the family and the children, and they have their everything, food, meeting. Even some part of factories, they did the factories around the building. Then to build this something like a cathedral, it looks like a Middle Age. Middle Age was quite the same. You see, during the construction was always different. Light was beautiful. There is not one moment that the building was dirty, no light. I didn't like. I like it always. This is three-dimensional. I did 26,000 pieces for it, for cover. Well, I show you the works of people. This is the part that I love on my work, to work with all these people. To try to understand. I cannot do. I try. It's like a merletto, or in France on something like, okay, dentelle. It's really done by hand, but industrial and by hand. This is the old one airport. We had some more runway. This is, you can understand now what was the dimension. The dimension is even a place where, because an airport is a city, but it's a strange city. You go in and you never go out. You go in and you disappeared. You cannot go out. You disappear because you start for a voyage, for a trip, for something. It's really closer with something that is a little bit metaphysic. Not only physics. And the people are there, they discover, they go. No, it was very interesting the day of inauguration. This is the life, the really life. And you see the city all around, and the landscape. It's quite finished, it's not very long. And the travel disappeared. There is another one, this is all. 10 minutes. All. Perfect. No, it's not finished. After. You can do after. 5 minutes again. Was inauguration. And the day of inauguration was nice because the mayor, the authorities, the political commissary, they arrived, and after, every people come inside to take flight. And it was very strange because people, you see, arrive here, they have a telephone, and they move the telephone. They use the telephone to explain where they are. And this is something strange. This airport doesn't need of air conditioning, but they want air conditioning. Because this airport is really without air conditioning. But they want it. I did like a sculpture for air conditioning. Then it's a monument of air conditioning. And this was this at the end. Yeah, well, you see how much is the car. It's very small. This is the day for inauguration was. And after 20 minutes was cloudy, completely. They are very proud. It's all three-dimensional space. You see inside is this. They arrived, and the people take the building. You see, this was after 1 hour. It's very small, looks very small. This kind of infrastructure is really the most important infrastructure in one city, and there is nothing else about this. Thank you very much. This is all.
Thank you, Massimiliano, for showing us not just the end result, but the process of what you said, the new cathedral. And now, Fernando Romero is going to tell us about the process of the design of the new International Airport of Mexico City.
Thank you, David, and thank you, Fuksas. It's a great honor to join this stage with you. My name is Fernando Romero. I have been working in Mexico over the last 20 years, and I want to share with you some aspects that makes Mexico an extraordinary country. We are among... this is the Cascadas in Mexico City in the south. This is among the, Mexico is among the 5th more biodiverse countries in the world, among the 10 most visited countries in the planet. With more than 23 centuries of history that range from the Aztecs to the Mayas, our country has more than 30 UNESCO heritage sites. And this is only an example of how our architecture was in a great relationship with the environment and with nature, no? Showing here the pyramid of Chichen Itza. Here we show the agave field, that is where we produce the tequila. So Mexico has one of the biggest biodiversity of plants. And also Mexico has some parallels moments with Russia. We have the revolution 2010, only 7 years far away from Russia. And also we have extraordinary modernism that celebrates monumentality, that in some moments have some relationship with the brutalism produced in Russia. We are #1 U.S. trading partner with almost $200 billion of imports and almost $300 billion of exports to the United States. So we are currently the 11th economy in the world, but we expect to be the 9th economy in 2015. Mexico City is the third largest city in the world, where I have been practicing over the last 20 years. And to start, as an introduction to the airport, I want to share a project that I worked in Mexico City before. This was a museum in Mexico City. And this museum came just in the precise moment where Frank Gehry was doing the museum for Louis Vuitton Foundation in Paris. We were asked to do the museum for Carlos Slim in Mexico. So what we proposed to do, it was a vertical museum where we arranged 4 exhibition levels connected with ramps. And we convinced the client that we were able to actually build it with their own companies and with their own technologies. So we actually built in 1.5 years the structure of the new museum. This is an image of the structure of the building. It's basically composed by 28 columns that carry 70% of the weight of the building. And the rest is solved with the roof that is actually hung on top. So the building became the most visited private museum in the world, with over 7 million visitors in its first 3 years. And it has boosted and developed all the area of the city. Here, a section of the museum that shows how the structure works. So we have 28 columns, each one with different geometries, and they are all connected with the roof that is floating, and bring them back to the center and solve the last floor of the building, where we have all the exhibition area for the sculptures with 70 meters free of column. And this is a resource that then we will apply to other projects, as for example the Mexico City New Airport that I will talk next, where we have spans of up to 180 meters in the central space. So the museum became the most Instagram building in Mexico, in the country. And we learned about how we can actually celebrate architecture by combining knowledge of local people with international engineers. And the next project I want to talk about is Mexico City Airport. As David just mentioned, it's the biggest airport on construction in the Americas. We won this competition with Foster and Partners. And this is an image of the old Mexico City, where you have the old lake of Texcoco with the old city of Tenochtitlan. And part of the challenge here was how we can actually build on what it used to be once a lake. Here you see the fastest growth of any city in Latin America. We grow from 3 million to 15 million in only 30 years. And here you see in the left side the current airport with 2 runways and 2 terminals, and the new master plan on the right, where we have up to 6 runways and the capacity to go to 120 million passengers per year in the different phases of the master plan. So the building we want was for the phase 1, that will enable us to receive up to 67 million passengers. As I mentioned, was an extraordinary relationship because Mexican government invited Mexican architects, and each of us needed to find a partner. So it was an extraordinary opportunity to work with Lord Foster. Here, the rendering of the competition, where we simply translate the most efficient way to arrange all the gates. That is in the form of the X, that is so representative for Mexico. So the building in itself was also an opportunity to celebrate part of our history, from the pyramids to colonial architecture to even modern architecture. Our DNA has been always to celebrate monumentality. So this is the space that you encounter after you pass security, where we have 180 meters span free of columns, where clearly the structure is in itself the most important aspect of the building. Here I want to show this image. Is Teotihuacan, only 20 kilometers far away from our site, and it was in the century 3, the most prominent structure in all the continent, the Pyramid of the Sun in the left. With the same dimension of our new building, the airport will become the new gate of Mexico. Here you see in the front, we have a circular building that is the ground transportation center, where we have buses and the ground transportation. And at the back, in the center, we have also the Tower of Control that was part of the master plan and part of the commission we won. For us, was an opportunity to celebrate what Mexico is capable of building and celebrate our own engineering and make a building that is exceptional in itself, not only by the scale, but also by the architectural qualities. I never imagined that I was going to be next to Fuksas talking about this airport, but clearly your airport was one of the most important for us when we were designing this project. Here we are presenting to the President Peña Nieto in Mexico, and something that for me was very important was to connect the building with a specific context and do the building also celebrating our natural biodiversity. You will find all these gardens when you reach out of the terminal between the ground transportation center and the building. And of course, in order to make a very sustainable building, the envelope, the skin, was fundamental. So we worked with the best engineers in the world to achieve that the building was intelligent in that way, in the way in which the envelope can reject all the heat and only capture the natural light that it needs. It will become the first LEED Platinum airport in the world. And with those 21 big columns or mega columns or tunnels, we are going to solve all the environmental aspects of the building. Each of these tunnels enables the building to actually breathe. Because we bring the fresh air to the building from the roof, and then we inject it through the slabs. And we do the same with the water. We use the water for all the services that we capture from the roof, thanks to these mega columns or tunnels. One big challenge of the project was how to build in this type of soil. So we have done a scan of all the under soil conditions, and then we find out that the best way to build the project was with the principle of compensation. There is the same principle that enables a ship to float on the ocean. And it's a principle that explains that if you have a bigger surface of connection, and if you create a balance between the surface that you are getting rid of and the surface you get back, then the soil enables the building to actually float. So that's how we plan to build it. And next, you see an animation of all the construction process. It needs to be built in 4 years. It's the biggest project ever built by Mexico in terms of complexity and size. It's a building of 1.6 kilometers long that needs to be built in only 4 years. This is how we solve the structure. So it's based on gravitational loads, because that's the most efficient ways to find the geometry of the roof. I'm sorry, but the clicker is not moving, so sometimes I need to.
Can you
use the video?
Next time I will. I learn from you. Next time I will bring only one video. It's not moving. Sorry.
Yeah.
Can you play the video? Or?
No, the best is. The
so
video.
here I am showing to the president the structure of the project, and in the next slide you will see how we plan to build the project. So this is a small animation that shows all the construction process. So we need to build the envelope in the same time that we build all the slabs. So that's a parallel process that should be overtaken by, in its peak, more than 30,000 employees. The scale of the building is about 18 blocks of Manhattan. It's 1 million square meters of construction, 95 gates of direct contact to the terminal, and 65 remote gates. So this is how we plan to build. This construction has started. It was a successful bid of international local companies. It's a 4 billion single terminal on a master plan of $15 billion. And the last two slides, we are convinced that these buildings are going to interact with all the technologies that are coming in the coming decades. And the best investment for the governments is actually to invest in infrastructure, because rather of only solving quantitative problems, it's also the opportunity to create the Gate of Mexico and also use architecture as a possibility to develop infrastructure at its highest standards. So again, thank you for being here. I am very happy to be part of this panel. So thank you, David. Thank you, Fuksas. So, thank you.
Thank you, Fernando. At the beginning of your presentation, you show us the diversity of Mexico. And Mexico City used to be the second largest city in the world and remains one of the most challenging megacities today. And now it will take this large piece of infrastructure very near its city center. Which were the main challenges of making this, putting this piece of infrastructure in this complex environment? And how do you think that it can have a positive impact for the city?
During different three presidential periods, this project has tried to become a reality. Finally, this president came and did the reforms in his first 2 years. And the project is extraordinary in many senses. One, the scale, also the relationship directly to Mexico City. And one aspect that is elemental in all the equation is that the old airport needs to be shut down in order to operate the new airport. And that's a tremendous opportunity for the redevelopment of all the area of the city near the airport, where most of the lower classes live. So we are convinced that this airport is one of the best opportunities in the history of Mexico to plan the development, social development, economical development of the poorest area of the city that is just surrounding the new airport.
Okay. I wish you the best of luck with this moving ahead, and hopefully it has that impact for Mexico. And Massimiliano, at the beginning of your presentation, you showed this, that in the 70s, Shenzhen was nothing, and today it was one of the most spectacular examples of rapid urbanization. So how does the airport relate to this development, but most importantly, how it prepares for the future?
It's quite the airport is quite the only structure that you can see from Google, from the satellite. I think that when you see how much is strong concept of an airport, you can understand why the airport after produced the city. It's a really, if you think that Hong Kong, Shenzhen, they are the same city. There are two airports, important airports. And then Shenzhen now is more important for industry, for high-tech industry. Not for coal, for the old one, the former industry. It's old high-tech, is a really high-tech city of all the China. Then you can see different logic. Festival is subtropical. Well, we can speak together because you are not subtropical.
A bit to the
You are
south.
not subtropical. We are subtropical, Shenzhen and Mexico. And then when you are subtropical, you have the vegetation very important. And you can have a landscape really important in the projects. And you can see what's happening in the future in this city. And you start with a project of landscape. Even Romero, he did, Fernando did a project that is very close with the concept of landscape, of physics, but the physics of the air, the land, the fire. I have to tell you something that 1918, I was in Mexico with Doriana, the first child with my wife, and we married after the travel that we had in Yucatan, Mexico, Yucatan, and so on. And all the archaeology, you cannot go in Mexico without having in mind what was so strong of this culture. And this culture, you can see that is, in this project, there are the culture. Like I tried to give some culture of China. Yes, it's different. The project of Romero is different, but you cannot forget the landscape, the space, even the people used to live there since thousands of years. Then this is, I think, that is, you can improve a city. Very easy. In few years, you have seen 20,000 people, fishermen, women and women, women and men. They did the life of something strange. It was like a mare. It was like a place where you have only water, and now is no more water, something else.
Thank you, Massimiliano. And I hope that the next time that I go to your airport, I will take photos the same as you saw us in the video, and I also hope that the New Mexico airport is done very soon, because today, the current one is a total chaos.
Yes.
So also thank you for joining us, and I also wish that you can visit these airports, because they will for sure be examples of urban development. Thank you.